Militants in Nigeria's Niger Delta have attacked a Chevron platform in the oil-rich basin. Chevron Nigeria Limited says its Okan offshore facility is currently shutting, in that the company is assessing the situation, while resources have been deployed to respond to a resulting spill into the oceans. Nigerian Navy spokesperson Commodore Chris Ezekobe, who also confirmed the incident, said the attack occurred about 40 nautical miles from the Escravos terminal around Warri in Delta State. Escravos facility was attacked in February and has been under repairs since then. The repair at the Forcados was expected to end this month. Meanwhile, the group known as the Niger Delta Avengers has claimed responsibility for the attack that first occurred on Wednesday and another, according to some sources, overnight on Thursday. Right now, the group said they were the ones responsible for the February attack on the 250,000 barrels a day export terminal. Nigeria has a very serious shortage in its oil and gas production. The International Monetary Fund says higher gold production and a rebound in services and construction sectors will help Liberia's economy grow by 2.5% in 2016 compared to an estimated 0.3% last year. In a statement released at the end of a visit by the staff mission to Liberia, which was battered by a 3-year Ebola outbreak, the IMF said that economic growth was projected to stabilize at about 6% over the medium term. But the 6% growth projection is significantly lower than an earlier forecast of 8% growth for Liberia, which the IMF said reflected a lowering of the mining sector's investment and production targets in the West African country. Mozambique economic outlook sours following the discovery of more than $1 billion in previously undisclosed government debt. The World Bank is delaying approval of further development loans to Mozambique pending a debt sustainability analysis to be conducted with the International Monetary Fund.
The state-of-the-art tuna fleet that would earn Mozambique millions of dollars in hard currency, create thousands of jobs and provide a cheap source of protein to one of the world's poorest countries. Instead, the 24 fishing boats rusting at their moorings in the capital are monuments to government mismanagement and generous lending by Western banks in an era of cheap global credit that have pushed one of Africa's biggest prospects into a deep debt crisis. The boats were paid for out of an $850 million loan arranged in 2013 by Credit Suisse and Russia's VTB to finance fishing infrastructure. The cash came in the form of a government-backed bond to state tuna fishing company Ematon. Nearly 3 years later, the fishing project is defunct, adding to a sovereign foreign debt equal to 80% of GDP and likely to bankrupt the southern African nation.
Let's start with Ematon. It's a great idea. Call it what you want. It was brilliant. But let's look into the economic foundations. If it was for the tuna, that would imply that the boat would have started fishing as soon as they left France. But they don't fish. The boats are in Maputo and they don't fish.
Deepening the mire, a further $1.35 billion then emerged, drawing a furious response from multilateral lenders and donors who suspended aid on concerns their cash will be used to bail out private creditors. Without the support of the International Monetary Fund and foreign funding, Mozambique will struggle to pay for basic services and inflation could soar. Foreign and public investment will also fall with a knock-on impact on economic growth. A comprehensive aid package is the most likely escape route, but the IMF and donors will likely demand stringent conditions.
We are going to share with full openness the information about the economic situation in the country and the principal reasons for the economic difficulties that the country is going through.
Mozambique emerged from 16 years of civil war in 1992 to become one of Africa's best performing economies, with growth averaging around 8% between 1996 to 2008. Prices of basics like bread and fuel are rising, and the public are beginning to realize the scale of the problem. Rumors of public demonstrations over the debt crisis last week prompted armed security forces to take to the streets in Maputo.
There's a crisis, yes, but what are we going to do? Crisis or no, we are just going to work. Life can't stop, we have to carry on. They have to sort it out, to do everything possible for the dollar to go back to where it was.
Mozambique's economic woes and recent violence could also be damaging for the tourist industry, which is underdeveloped, despite Mozambique having miles of untouched white sand beaches on the Indian Ocean.
From southern Africa to the north, where unemployment in Morocco stood at 10% at the end of March. That's up from 9.9% a year earlier, after a severe drought hit the agriculture sector that accounts for more than 15% of the national output. The farm sector shed 28,000 jobs over the year to March, Morocco's planning authority, HCP, said, although this was partly offset by gains in forestry and fishing business. Farm incomes are volatile in this semi-arid North African country. The government expects the 2016 cereal harvest to fall sharply after last year's record crop of 11 million tons due to bad weather, and more farm job losses are expected this year. The government has been trying to develop new industries to cut reliance on agriculture, ease poverty, and create more work for young people in urban areas. Here in West Africa, tourism became a key part of Ivory Coast's economic transformation after years of political crisis and civil war. However, a recent Islamic militant attack on a popular beach has set business back for many hotels, but officials say the revival of the industry, tourism that is still on track, and they're working to attract more investors and to re-establish Ivory Coast as a destination of choice in Africa.
More than a month after Islamist militants killed 19 people on Ivory Coast's Grand Bassam beach, revelers are slowly returning to enjoy one of the country's top tourist attractions, sun and sand. On Sundays, swimmers come out in their dozens. But at hotels like Océan et Leguine, a beachfront guest house not far from the scene of the March attack for which Al-Qaeda in the Islamic Maghreb claimed responsibility, beach hotel owners say they are struggling.
I have returned so that I can work. As for the jihadist problem, I cannot allow these people to take over. It's true I've lost 95% of my customers, but I think I will make it. I will not give up. I will keep trying to work, and I will stay to show Ivorians and everyone else that jihadists cannot destroy our businesses.
Officials say Ivory Coast has invested 151 billion Swiss francs in hotels over the last 3 years as part of efforts to improve the service industry and boost tourism. There are also plans to repopulate the national wildlife parks, which were all but destroyed during the 2002-2011 political crisis. The government is targeting 1 million tourists in 2016, almost double the number from last year, as the West African country tries to turn around an economy held back by several years of unrest.
After all the crisis that this country has been through, we needed to highlight the amount of touristic potential Ivory Coast has. Ivory Coast has beautiful land with many things to discover, including its culture and the 60 different ethnic groups in the country. It was important for us to be able to tell others that even though we have fought among ourselves, we have also reconciled and are on the path towards peace.
Ivory Coast is the world's biggest producer of cocoa, with output of around 1.8 million tons per year. But dry weather has already reduced forecasts for the 2015-2016 season to around 1.6 million. For this Frenchman who lived in Ivory Coast for some time, despite security concerns following the Grand Bassam attack in March, he wants his family to see the transformation taking place in the country he once called home.
I think that Ivory Coast is waking up and becoming stronger after that difficult period. Now we can clearly see all the energy that is possible here.
Tourism, which accounted for 4.8% of the GDP last year, is seen as a key sector to help diversify revenue sources for the leading economy in French-speaking West Africa.